All right. So this and today's topic is about gentrification. That's what we're talking about today. So I know y'all probably want to talk about some wholesale and stuff. And I was supposed to go live last night, but actually I want to have a conversation about gentrification because this is something that I've talked about many weeks ago. Had a good video that went pretty, like I would say, like viral on not viral, but it did well on Instagram. You guys responded to us. And over the last couple of days, Nipsey Hussle passing away, then John Singleton passing away yesterday. Where he had that famous movie Boys to the Hood, and that's where the first time most people ever heard of the word gentrification. And he cast a very, very negative light on it. And a lot of people think it's still negative. Some people got their own opinions. There's people on either side of it. So we're here to talk about that today. Why? Because we're real estate investors and we want to know what part we play. And also, I feel like it's my duty to do some education on actually real estate, like more than just wholesaling, but how you can become wealthy, you and your family, right? So somebody said, let's stay on topic tonight. Yeah. So obviously this is a show where we can call in. You guys post your numbers in here and we'll have conversations about just gentrification. Today I'm not answering any wholesaling questions. I got a couple people on here. Tommy, I'm going to be calling Tommy. I'm going to be calling a couple people. Some people from Texas. We're gonna be making some phone calls. So I think Chris from out of Houston is going to be on here. So this is going to be a good conversation. I spend a lot of time putting these things together so we can have a good presentation for you guys, so you guys can have something good to look at and all that stuff. So says somebody I need to meet Tommy. So let's get this thing rolling. So where do I start? I should have queued up some graphics. I should have queued up some somebody says wholesale is dead. I guess so. Yeah, you're right. Wholesale is dead. Go try something else. Yes, wholesaling is dead. Go try something else. That's what somebody got. Yeah, if you think wholesaling is dead, you're right. If you think it's the best thing ever, you're right too. So I think, you know what? I want to call somebody. So I'm going to have my audio guy call somebody for me. But I'm going to call Tommy. So Dave, I know you can hear me. I want you to call Tommy. And what we're going to do, I just want to have some conversations, right? Somebody's in South Africa. Big love out there. He said he's working on his first deal. Big ups to everybody that's international. Anybody watching Tony Robbins and Dean for what? No, I mean, somebody, is what it is. So, we're going to do a Bluetooth call. Oh, we're calling Tommy, I think.
Hello?
Yo, Tommy, what's up, man?
Anybody watching Tony Robbins? What is up, Sam? What is going on? How you doing, brother?
You're live with me on my YouTube right now. And tonight, first of all, how you been, bro? You doing all right?
Man, I'm amazing, man. I'm amazing. It's closed a little deal today. A little something going on today.
Okay.
And so I know they're saying wholesaling is dead, but if it's dead like that, let's keep it sleeping, man.
Yeah. But if it's dead, go ahead and believe it's dead. It's cool. I'm cool with that. Cool with you believing it's dead.
The real question is, how are you doing, my man? You all over the place. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually back home. As you can see, I'm back home. I plan on being home for a couple weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, man. So you see the new studio setup. You see I can move the camera left and right and all that stuff. Zoom in, zoom out.
You showing out, Brian. You showing out right now.
Man.
You showing out.
For me, I just wanted to have a good product put out there. So, anyways, So let's talk about gentrification, right? So actually, matter of fact, the other day when I was in Atlanta, I came and saw you. We did social proof together, And that was
Absolutely.
I think that day or day before I had posted the video about gentrification, and I
Yeah.
showed it to you, and everybody's got their own opinion on it. But first of all, let's talk about what it is. Let's talk about the definition of gentrification, right? And then we can start from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
So it says gentrification is the process of renovating deteriorated urban neighborhoods by means of influx or more affluent residents. This is a common and controversial topic in politics and in urban planning. So the true definition from Webster is the process of renovating and improving a house or district so that it conforms to middle class taste. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the definition of gentrification. What do you believe gentrification is? What is your definition? What do you think it is?
Yeah. So, in my definition is basically going into a neighborhood. Normally, unfortunately, it just is what it is statistically. The lower class or lower economic bracket of America. A large percentage of that is Black and brown population.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to keep it real and just keep it, shoot straight from the hip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something to the tune of somewhere around, I think as far as below poverty level, I think Black and brown, we kind of occupy about a little close to like 47%, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So a large percentage, but we have a small percentage of in comparison to the rest of America, we don't occupy as much. So it's disproportionately.
Now, when you say occupy, what you mean? You mean own?
So I think the last statistic I remember seeing, I think out of America, I think there's like 13 to 14% of America is Black, right? So for us to own such a big portion of the below poverty level it's disproportionately weight on one side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when we look at it from the outside, it looks like, oh, it's just rich people coming in buying up the quote unquote the hood where the city is pushing out to.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that we're just taking that or the people are just taking that from our communities. And now, so that's at surface level what we see. At the surface level, that what I saw before really getting into real estate, right?
Uh-huh.
And what I think before there were other opportunities. There by far they're not the same amount of opportunities. But obviously long before the opportunities were nowhere near there. Right now we have opportunities that we can either stop this or hop into the game and partner.
Mm-hmm.
And so the gentrification that I see now is really gentrification of the mind, right? It's gentrification like people are controlling our spending habits, and we're not, I think, collectively bonding together to come in there and either do our own version of gentrification or just stop it altogether.
Yeah. So how do you stop gentrification? And is gentrification only a negative thing?
Well, so to answer your first question, how do you stop it? I don't think anyone ever stops it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not something I think you stop. Right. What happens is that you go into neighborhoods, and we're talking with family here, right? So we're going to keep this thing 100, right?
I want you, bro. When have I ever tried to get you to keep this thing? Like, me, so
left, right?
so be real.
Yeah. So what we're talking about, and we're talking about neighborhoods that when we look at them from the Black and brown perspective, a lot of us don't want to be there, right? We're trying to get out of there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking at those type of neighborhoods that people are that we deem as outsiders are coming in and buying up. Now, we have, especially I know the statistic for the Black population. We have, I think the Black dollar stays in our neighborhood a matter of minutes, and so we've been bred to be such consumers that we don't look at the investing. We're always looking at buying. We're never looking at investing. So when you say, how do we stop it? We don't want to stop it. We just want to be on the side of the receiving end. I don't want to stop,
you don't want to stop the development of property,
the development of it,
or renovation or repair.
Correct. I just want to be a part of it, and I want to teach people how to be a part of it. We have to kind of take a different approach to it. Instead of, we know what's happening, instead of letting it just happen, be a part of revitalizing that neighborhood. But a lot of times we talk so much about it, but when is the last time you bought a house and qualified someone and put them into a home that was a safe home?
Yeah.
Right.
And so
we have opportunities to do these things. But
here's how I want to do this today, because this is just, on the fly. But I see a lot of people saying, hey, I agree, I disagree. Here's the thing. We all can, on this, right now we're having a discussion, which I think is not had. And I feel like it's a responsibility of mine to talk about this, not only because it's recently coming up and stuff like that. So you're stating your opinions of what you believe and what you do. So you agree that there is gentrification, that and then
yep.
The gentrification, however you define it, there is an issue with gentrification. Now, I'm not saying that you're saying it needs to stop. So now that we agree that there's an issue, how do we solve this?
Yeah. So number one, having forums like this. So I saw someone that I think someone in the group says, well, but we're not buying. So that's true. Obviously, if we're going to stop it or change the look of it, we have to become the investors. I don't like really saying buying. We have to be the investors and stop letting other people out invest us. So how do we do that? Forums like yourself, right? Where people learn how to get into these things. For some reason, I knew why. I know where I grew up, nobody came to my high school to teach me how to invest. They just weren't coming to Plainfield, New Jersey, right? They saw Plainfield, New Jersey. Oh, they're just not coming there, right? No one wants to be there. So I understand why a lot of us don't know it. But now when we have these platforms like YouTube, like Instagram, where we're consuming some of this stuff, we got to figure out why is there so much inaction. Okay. At some point, we have to either piss or get off the pot, right? We have to get into this. So the way that we thwart this thing or we change these things is by education. Educating, and I'm not saying education like formal education stuff. I'm talking about educating in
on the topic,
on the topic, right?
Investing, and then buying real estate,
and get action. And it doesn't have to be just you, right? Like we have this. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends. I'm speaking personally. A lot of my friends when I was growing up, not so much now. My circle has kind of changed, but growing up, we have this crabs in a barrel type of a mentality, where I feel like I got to do it myself, and then when I'm trying to do it myself, I feel like people are pulling me down, right? But just think about this. I think if you and like 4 of your friends could get together, could save up $5,000 instead of tax season coming around and we just splurge and buy stuff that we don't need. We put that money together, even if it took you 2 years to save up $5,000, but you got 5 people to do that. Right now we have $25,000 that we can go ahead and we can go in and purchase a home, or we could get into a couple of Airbnb properties, right? And we can start changing the dynamic ourselves. The problem is that we want everything right now. We want to become millionaires in 6 months. And so we can't see how we buy one property and yet that property is only making us $500 a month cash flow. And we're like, oh man, we spent all this money, but we're only getting $500 a month. You don't see the long-term equity positions. You don't see you're not going down to the city hall and getting the 5-year plan to see where economic growth is coming. You're not looking at the economic zones. This stuff is there. Like this is all information that's freely given.
There's this where a lot of news is just being passed around, like in the community, like people saying, yo, I tried to buy a house. I didn't get qualified. Do you know that all you need is a 500 credit score to qualify for an FHA loan? 500.
And 3.5% down.
No. If you if you got a 500 credit score, the down payment is 10%. If you got a 580 credit score, it's 3.5. right?
3.5, right? So
3.5%. So your average down payment is going to be around $6,000, and that can put you in a house around 190,000 or something like that.
Yeah, and instead of buying the house where
you want to be,
that you can
gentrify your own hood.
Exactly. There you go.
And that's why
There
Jay-Z said it. He said, gentrify your own hood. Like, don't go to the burbs, and then when everybody run from the burbs back to the city and you can't afford to come back to the city, and you upset. So I think for me, I think this topic is good to have.
But and that's exactly why I said I'm not saying that it needs to stop. It just needs to change on who's doing it.
Somebody is saying your score has to be 530. Last I checked, you can get qualified with a 500, but you have to put down a minimum of 10%. I'm actually reading it right here from the FHA website. It says your credit score, if your credit score is below 580, they recommend you just go get it, improve it. But from 500 to 579, your FICO score requirement is a 10% down payment. So,
yeah,
you can do
exactly. And then there's other options that, right? I mean, you can. I don't know if most people or some people do know about FHA 203Ks, right? Where now you put that same 3.5 to 10%, you can get into a property where you can actually be the one renovating it, right? And you're getting into it for the purchase price, just like a flipper would do it. You're getting in for a purchase price, and the government is guaranteeing that, right? They're going to say, okay, well, how much is it going to cost for a repair job? They're going to get a licensed general contractor to give them a real bid, right? And they're going to be in control of that money. They're only going to ration it out after so many things have been checked off. So these are programs that are available where a lot of us can get into these programs. It's just, are you going to actually do it, right? We've watched the videos. You've gone to all the meetups. Are you actually going to invest back into your own neighborhood? Are you going to buy your own block back, right? That's exactly what I'm doing. I know that's what you're doing. It's just, we just need more people to do it.
It's just because we don't, it's just misinformed. It's just hugely misinformed. And I think that we just gotta start educating ourselves. We know a lot about so much, except for the things I think we need to do. So, I got Chris that's gonna come on here in a second, man. But your solution to shout out to my guys at Propelio TV. But your solution to this is we need to stop buying dumb stuff and buy the neighborhood nobody wants to be in and actually play to the future. So, I think I lost my man Tommy, but Dave, if we can go ahead and call Chris. Look in the text message, you should see it right there. What's going on, Chris? It's Max.
Nothing much, man. How are you?
So check this out, man. We live right now on YouTube, but before we get into the topic of gentrification, right? I want you to tell people kind of who you are, your background, and like, there's a reason why I'm calling you.
Okay, man. I'm Chris Senegal. I'm down here in Houston, Texas. I'm from a small town called Port Arthur, Texas. Grew up typical situation, separated parents. My brother's been incarcerated since he was 15.
Mm-hmm.
I was a teenage dad. I had my son when I was 16. He's now a freshman in college. And I did everything right. I went to college, got an engineering degree, and I got out, and I got in that corporate world, and I was like, man, I've been sold a dream. These long hours, it ain't worth it. It's not where I want to be in life. So started trying to figure out my exit strategy, and I fell into real estate in 2009. So I started flipping houses back in 2009. Built up a rental portfolio here in Houston. And, I got into that, and I just really felt like there was still something bigger. So where I'm currently at now, man, I just decided to refocus on finding disinvested areas, mainly our neighborhoods, and finding opportunities to take down land and figure out how to become a developer. I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the know-how, but I just knew that if I could figure out flipping, and if I could figure out how to start a business, I could figure out how to do this development game. And so it took me about 2 years, but I was able to do some creative finance and I own a whole block with views of downtown here in Houston. I bought it way ahead of the curve when everybody wasn't even thinking about the neighborhood, thought I was crazy because it was the hood. But I just saw the vision, and I had a couple people around me that were able to give me the game on, watch what the city's doing, watch what the city plans are, because that's where the next wave is. And that's kind of the catalyst for this whole gentrification conversation that we're talking about. We think this stuff comes out of the blue, but it's all a plan. It's been laid out for years. We just don't know what it looks.
So there's a big problem of where we get our information from and where we seek information.
Right. Yeah, the media is the wrong source. That's the last source. Social media and the media is the last source you need to be getting your facts from and trying to run with stuff you hear, because that'll keep you in the butt.
So did you wholesale in the past, or you just went straight into like buying?
I flipped first.
Okay.
But then actually, in 2015, I started wholesale.
Okay.
So I do some wholesales as well as flips now. But like I said, my development project, it took me a few years to get it rolling. So that's my focus now.
Got it. Okay. So tell me where, like, you decide, I'm gonna start building in the hood. How you go ahead.
Yeah. So we got to unpack it a little bit.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Everybody starts right at gentrification, but you got to realize what these neighborhoods were. Before integration, these were thriving Black neighborhoods. We had to have our own everything. So the business owners, the people that were, the Black corporate and the Black businesses, this is where they saved up money. Most of them couldn't get loans. They paid cash for these houses. And so, these people are our elders that are, passing away now, and these properties have been passed down. And since integration, a lot of the migration of the well-to-do Blacks was they grew up out of these neighborhoods and they moved to the suburbs or moved to other neighborhoods.
Okay.
So what's left are the people that that didn't make it out.
Makes sense.
So they become our burden. They become what we have to carry because we feel bad for them. So what ends up happening is we feel like, no, let's not do anything in that neighborhood. Well, number one, we're like, oh, it's run down. I don't want to go back. Number two, it's like, well, if we do go back, we're going to hurt them. And then what really happens is somebody else walks up and says, oh, they're neglecting this. We're about to take it over. And
wow. So you unpacking it. So you basically saying, listen, great grandparents, depending on how old you are, couldn't get loans. Because remember, the Fair Housing Act was in 1968. For you guys that don't understand what the Fair Housing Act, it was basically a law passed that said that you cannot discriminate on financing and where people buy based on their skin color, sex, a bunch of other stuff, their religion. So in 1968, my mother was born in 1960. So she was born prior to having those rights, if that makes sense. So that's not that long ago.
Right.
My mom's 60th birthday is next year. Matter of fact, her 59th birthday is in a month. So the point that I'm making is they couldn't get loans, so they worked and saved up and bought property. Right. So these properties were on cash, and these people are now passed away, and it's getting handed down to the uncle, the people that didn't leave the hood. Are you saying?
Exactly. And so that's
okay. And most of us left. Most of us left the hood.
We're right.
Okay.
And also, so that's the residential side. Then on the commercial side, there were thriving districts in a lot of cities. And the one that gets the most sizzle reel right now is Black Wall Street. But that one was no different than the Bronzeville in Chicago, no different than the parts of I can't think of one in Miami, but there's probably 30, 40 of them that in every major city. Riley had one, exactly. But Black Wall Street gets the sizzle reel because it was bombed.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that does is that put that fear in us, of like, oh, only one, they did it one time and look what happened to it. That's not really the case. After integration, a lot of these just became neglected because I feel like during the civil rights movement, people fought so hard to be accepted by the other community, the white community, that they started patronizing the white community basically to prove a point, and they forgot to hold what was near and dear to us and what carried us to that point, which was those thriving Black districts.
Mm-hmm. So we left the neighborhoods, and then we left the business, and now we want it back, but we don't own it anymore.
We don't own it anymore, right? And so, and a lot, I think what happens too is we point the finger a lot in these situations. It's like somebody needs to save this, somebody needs to go and start this, or then we forget that this is a capitalist country, and then we expect the government to do it. Well, why isn't the mayor doing this?
Why should he?
Exactly. Why isn't the Senate doing this? Why isn't the president doing this? And every other community is looking at us like, yeah, why y'all can't figure it out? We figuring it out. We're taking care of our own. We're doing our own thing.
Exactly. And I think it's because there's a big, in whether it's African American or just like the lower income, they point the finger and never set a responsibility for anything. Or if they point the finger, they never try to find the actual solution to what they point their finger to, right? So it's like you got to be proactive about it. And you go out and you buy in areas that necessarily you see the development coming because you look at the city map, you look at the city planning, and you see where it's going, and you say, okay, well, I'm gonna buy in the same neighborhood that nobody wants to buy in, and I'm gonna wait a year or two.
Right, exactly. And in this current situation, man, I bought 6 years ago in 2013.
Wow, and sat on it for a while.
Just sat on it for a while. Luckily, I was able to let it cash flow without having to do a lot of work to it. Doing single room occupancy for parolees and stuff. But yeah, man, it was just like I saw the potential in it, and I was like, this is one of the actual block that I bought was actually the first block settled by Black Creoles from Louisiana, freed men after slavery. And so there's a lot of historical significance to that block, and it was dilapidated when I bought it. I mean, the old people could tell you stories, but no one had done anything to keep it up. And so that's a lot of historical significance. So, when you redevelop something, you can change the name of the legal description of everything. So I changed it to Frenchman Square and Liberty Square, two sides of the block. I want to keep that heritage. There's gonna be a monument out there and everything.
Got it.
But the bigger picture for me was, it's like, okay, one side of it is like Tommy was talking about. You can buy a property and become an investor, but how do you serve your community more with it? And so my perspective was, well, if I can get this block and I can redevelop it and I can build in an area that I know where the values are going to appreciate, and I keep the price where I know my people can afford it because they're buying homes at the same prices in the suburbs, then that's a win for everybody. I can still make a profit. I can get some Black working professionals back into these neighborhoods. We can bring pride back to the neighborhood. Not only that, but now the little kids in the hood have somebody to look up to in the neighborhood. Like they have somebody to look up to besides the drug dealer, because little Johnny, who left and went to college and now is an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, has found a nice place in the neighborhood that he can move back to, and and still interact with the community he grew up with.
Makes sense.
So, and then on top of that, the other thing we talk about is like the lack of resources in our neighborhood. We complain about like grocery stores not being in our neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. Well, if you're pointing the finger from the suburbs, you're part of the problem, because a grocery store is a business, and most of people that follow you are business minded, they're capital minded, they're real estate investor minded. You gotta think about this. A grocery store is the lowest profit margin business there is. They make 2 to 3% in profit after you look at utility bills, you look at spoilage and all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to spend millions to go set up shop in a neighborhood where they don't feel like they're going to break even. The first thing that a business development department does for a grocery store chain is look at what the disposable income is of the people. So if the Black people that have the income, that are the working professionals and above and entrepreneurs, don't live in that neighborhood, that grocery store has no interest in moving over there. So we can fix a lot of our own problems that we complain about by just moving back to our neighborhood. So it takes some of us, it takes the wholesalers to make sure they're conscious about who they're selling to in these neighborhoods. I mean, I tell the guys I'm training now, I talk to now, it's like, man, if you anywhere in the suburbs, open games, sell to whoever you want to. But when it comes to these neighborhoods, be kind of cognizant of what you're doing.
Got it.
Because you sell to the highest bidder really quickly, and and then you get the system down really good in that neighborhood. You look up, you sold 80% of the neighborhood away, for a quick buck. Then what does that really do over time? So you got to have a little bit of social consciousness with your business.
So if you had to sit down in front of people right now and just say, listen, here's the next things you need to be doing over the next 3 years, versus complaining and versus saying there's nothing you can do about it, what are you saying to the audience right now, saying, hey, this is how you can try to fix something, be a part of that?
Okay. I would say, number one, believe it or not, I feel like the people that are in the best position right now are the ones that are renting their primary residence and have not bought a home yet. Because if you can go in the neighborhood that is starting to turn, use your first-time home buyer qualification to actually buy a rental property. So, and buy something, well below your means where it's not going to stretch you every month, but you can get good cash flow off of it. That's number one. So you get all the benefits of home ownership without having to deal with the headache of home ownership, because you're not living in, something goes wrong with your house, you still call your landlord, you get it fixed. You got to, you know what your living expense is every month. And then the house that you are getting all the benefits of real estate ownership from is producing cash flow for you, so it's still not really hurting you. So that's step number one.
Yeah.
I think step number two is definitely if you're wholesaling, try to build your network up in those neighborhoods of the investors that look like you. Work with realtors and agents that have buyers that are interested in buying in those areas that look like, the neighborhood. And, those are some things you can do where you can kind of vertically integrate everything you're doing so that you don't miss any money, but you have a social awareness of what you're doing for your community.
Yeah. I mean, and this is, I think there just needs to be more open discussion about what the solution is to the problem and how you can have home ownership. I think it's just a pure education play. I think once people are educated on what this is, what they can do to fix it, how they can own homes themselves, then I think this topic just becomes a way. And then the word doesn't always have to have a negative connotation.
Right. And let me add one more thing. I know a lot of people probably in the comments talking about taxes and all that other kind of stuff.
Oh my God. You seen the comments today?
Yeah. The tax laws are nothing but a decision of whoever is in office. So if you're a wholesaler, or whatever you're doing, if you're making any type of money in real estate or your job and you're really concerned about that, make sure the next time it comes around for a politician to run, you pick somebody that's on the platform that's talking about property taxes in those neighborhoods. You make sure that you go support somebody that's going to say, we're going to add exemptions for all the seniors in the neighborhood or anybody that's owned your home for longer than 5 years in this neighborhood. Make sure that when this redevelopment comes in this area, you're not affected by it. And you also want to go to and talk to the current politicians that are in office, start lobbying with them, saying this is what we want to see. We want to see this change. We want this area revitalized, but we don't want the people here to be displaced. So these are all things that we can do to change the tide instead of just pointing the finger and complaining and saying it's some invisible force, some imaginary force that's changing our neighborhoods and we have no control of it. We can take action from every side.
So I posted a video today on talking with Nazir, and he built in a neighborhood that had some history very similar to kind of what you were talking about, the one you bought in New Orleans. He built, from where I can see, he built the first house because he's the one done first. Actually, the second house. He built the second house. So he, right next to a house that sold for like $500,000 is a elderly lady that owns her house, and she does not want to sell. She's been asked, she's been offered, she does not want to sell. The property, her value per property was around $35,000 about 3 years ago. Now her property is somewhere between $150 and $180. That's just the dirt. That's what people want to pay for, the dirt. So my question to you is this is gentrification. It's happening in that neighborhood. It's right across the bridge, which is right across the red line. Is this a good example of gentrification and how it's a positive thing because she owned it?
It can definitely be positive because what she's now able to pass on has a lot more value. But once again, people are going to complain about her taxes going up. Well, my answer to that is whoever's in the downline of her family, whoever is going to be the direct beneficiary when she passes away, they should be investing in grandma's property now, because if her property taxes went up $2,500 and it's 5 heirs, you 5 people should be paying this other $500 a piece, because you're going to reap a big reward on the back end to make sure grandma holds on to this property till she passes.
Education. And then grandma could probably file for a freeze or elderly freeze in taxes where her thing won't go up at all, which most cities have that in America.
Exactly. So I mean, like I said, worst case, y'all pull together. Y'all stop saying if Granny's going to lose it. No, you pitch in, and we have to become more entrepreneur mindset. We have to have a more entrepreneur mindset all the way around. Everything is a business in life.
So somebody has this question. This guy named Danny Carter. He's been in here saying, he says, how can something that hasn't helped Black people as a whole be positive?
I don't even know what that question really.
Yeah, I guess
means.
he's saying that the gentrification, that's a positive example of gentrification for this lady, because she was not a renter, because she decided to have home ownership. She could not be pushed out. They offered her a lot of money. She decides she wants to stay in the neighborhood because she likes it. Now she can take that and go do whatever she want to do with it, but she decided to stay. So because the area is being revitalized, because there is more middle-class people moving to the neighborhood, and because they're building $500,000 houses next to houses worth $35,000, her value of her house went up. And I don't care what you want to say about taxes or anything. That is a positive thing. See, a lot of people are very misinformed. When people say that most millionaires are made in real estate every day, every year, do you know it's not from investing? It's from owning your own home, and the value of your home goes up and you have more equity than it's worth, and it goes up beyond $1 million. That's how most millionaires are created in real estate. See, that's a misinformed fact or something you see on there. It's not from investing. That's how most people become millionaires in real estate. It's from owning your own home, and the property value goes up.
Precisely. And if we're all in the suburbs while other ethnic groups are moving into these neighborhoods that are gentrifying, whether it's positive or negatively, we are missing that wealth accumulation that they are getting. And, if enough of us do that in these neighborhoods, we'll have the disposable income. If you want to help somebody pay their taxes, if you want to do all that, we have it at that point. But if we're in the suburbs where home values only increasing 1% to 2% a year, meanwhile these other people are seeing that property values double, in a year or two, then we are really missing the way. So I guess the real answer to his question is because we need to participate in it. That's how we benefit from it. As long as we're on the sidelines, it will never help us.
Complaining and watching. There's programs out there. Look, man, I appreciate you taking your time out tonight and speak about this topic. I'm sure this discussion will continue online, offline. Maybe we'll hold summits about it or something. I don't know. It just needs more of this conversation need to be happening with people that have an audience that somebody look up to. I think it's all about education. So I appreciate you, man. Hey, shout out your Instagram so people go follow you.
Okay. My Instagram is investor_INVSTR.
Got it. Make sure y'all go follow him, man. I appreciate you.
All right,
thank you. So listen, here's what I'm doing, guys. I'm just bringing on people, and they're giving their professional opinion about being a real estate investor. And everybody I talked to so far has been African American. Now, the next person I'm going to call, you can't question what he's saying. I don't care who you are. He is my mentor. It's Mr. Tony Robinson Sr. And he gonna tell you how he came from nothing all the way to something, which you guys already know that story if you watch any podcast. But he's gonna explain to you as somebody that's older than most of us. A lot of people on here. He said, here's the problem. Danny Carter. I'm glad we're having this discussion because you're saying stop with the complaining talk, man. You sound like them. Danny, let me explain something to you. If you keep complaining and not doing anything, you're just gonna sit on the sideline and not be a part of the solution. So you can keep complaining all you want to, or you can get up and go do something about it. And the only way to do something about it is be a part of the problem. Be a part of the solution, right? You see the problem, be a part of the solution, I mean. So if you don't own nothing, if you don't have any money, if you think somebody's going to get up and do something for you by you complaining, you are crazy. So when I say stop complaining, I'm serious. Stop complaining and get out and do something. I'm not apologetic about what I'm saying. Stop complaining and go do something. So you complaining ain't gonna do nothing. Anyways, Y'all can get me heated about this, but I like this. I like that we're having this discussion. Get up and do something. So, Dave, make that next phone call. Let's get on the phone because the guy that we're going to talk to next, you can't say nothing. So let's hear what he has to say about this.
Hello.
Hey, Mr. Robinson, this is Max. You are actually live on YouTube. So I hope you're ready to talk about this topic we're going to talk about tonight.
Okay, what you got?
So we talking, first of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Hope you are.
So for most of you guys that don't know who I'm talking to, this is my mentor, Mr. Robinson. I've known him since I was a child. Very big in the real estate game, very quiet. You may have seen him on my YouTube channel for the first time a few weeks ago. This man has lots of properties, and he spent a lot of time educating himself on these topics, and he has grown financially independent in the millions through real estate by doing what he learned how to do. So the topic that we're talking about here recently that's been coming up a lot in pop culture and just online is gentrification. And gentrification is a big topic here recently. So I want to get your take on it and then maybe go in discussion about, is there a problem with gentrification? What's your take on gentrification, and how do we fix that word, or how do we fix the problem?
Okay, I think I just been listening just a little bit, Max, on what you were talking about and some of the statements being made and what you actually contributed to it. I think one of the things is that we have to look at educating ourselves in the processes of just what's going on. Number one, I think sometimes we sit back and one of the things that I've gathered from mentoring and coaching individuals is that oftentimes we have a mindset that says that we can't do or be more than what we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a part of what it is that, some of us have watched mama and daddy and aunts and uncles and folks that have been content renting or living a certain way. And that's how we feel, that's how we think we have to conduct ourselves. I think one of the things I would contribute to this thing is that oftentimes we are, what I would just say, for lack of a better word at this point in time, we're financially illiterate.
We are.
We don't understand the power of finance. We don't understand what to do with money. One of the things I think I said this on your podcast the other week, is that if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we have to educate ourselves in the process. What you don't know actually does hurt you. I've bought more than 60 homes that I can tell you with less than a $10 contract.
Less than 60?
Less than $10.
He's more than 60 homes for less than a $10 contract.
With a less than a $10 contract. And so I'm talking about what I'm basically saying is earnest money. So I put $10 earnest money, and then I control someone's property.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, I don't know how many times I've done that with just $1. And so it goes back to what you know. And so if you don't know that you're capable of doing that, then you have a misperception that I can't, that I can't buy. Some of us get in situations where we think that it's just everything is for somebody else, but everything is for you if you want to go out here and grind and do what you need to do. I've been in this business for 23 years. I've seen the different things that have happened over time. I think we had a conversation before a couple of days ago where I told you where I've seen municipalities devalue certain sectors of the city.
Let's talk about how it affected you. Let's talk about, like, you had property in a certain part of town, and overnight, because of the foreclosures in the area, you lost 50% value of the properties according to the tax value. Correct.
I think we had this discussion. Basically, I can tell you that in one area of this city here where we're at, I own probably about 45, 50 houses.
Y'all hear that?
And I had an individual call me one morning as I was driving and say,
he was just talking to me. He said, "Man, you sound pretty chipper this morning. This morning for someone that probably lost about over $1 million while you slept last night." And I was saying, "What are you talking about?" And he was basically, then he started telling me, Did you get your tax cards, your property tax bills, and look at them?" I said, "Nah." I said, "I got a whole stack of them. I hadn't looked at them yet." And so he said, "I think you need to go look at them." And so when I opened them up, I started noticing, immediately I started seeing that a good percentage of the properties that I had owned in a certain part of town lost value, some to the tune of almost 50%. So houses that the tax value was maybe $125,000, now the tax card says it's $45,000 or $60,000. Okay, and then we end up going through. Got one of the city councilmen went downtown, and of course, we were complaining and trying to get the city to go back and reassess those properties. But basically, they attribute that to a high rate of foreclosures in those areas, and so the high rate of foreclosures led to basically the houses being, the values being lessened because of what they were being purchased for in foreclosure. And so I saw that firsthand and experienced it for myself. So what happens sometimes is that when that happens to certain folks, then of course you get a mentality that my house is no longer, or the area that I'm staying in is no longer worth anything. So in some cases, what we see is folks want to move to the suburbs or move on the outskirts. So I need to sell because there's no value here. And I think that's one of the things that sometimes we have to figure out how, because I can tell you, I still own all those homes.
Held on to them.
Those homes, and I held on to them in some respect because you didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, you can't sell less than what you owe, although we've rebounded now. And so what we have to understand too is that real estate is cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
So real estate goes up and down. It goes in cycles. So if you're able to ride those cycles out, and then like I said, just have a mentality to own something. I heard you say, I think the other week, is that it's hard to sit at the table if you don't own anything.
Correct.
I think we see a lot of times where people are just become professional renters.
30 years in one house or 30 years
right.
on the same, renting.
Well, I think I told you I have some aunts, I love them, to death, but they've been renting. I'm almost 60 years old now. They've been renting for every year I've been born. And so, and if you they're up in the Maryland, D.C. area, and the average rent being about $1,500 to $1,700, you do that for 50 years or 40. Just say 50 years. What's that? You figure that out. 50 years times, say 58 years times 12 months. How many years is that?
50.
How many months is that?
That's 600 months.
600 months, and then just average and say $1,500 in rent.
That's $900,000 in rent.
So they pay almost $1 million in rent. And the thing about that is if the owner of that property tells them right now, I need you out in 30 days, what are you going to do? You got to pack your bags and leave. So we have to have a mentality. I mean, you paid over $1 million over these years in rent, and you don't have anything to show for it.
Man.
And so again, it goes back to having the mentality that you can own, and not. And, oftentimes, like I said, it comes from a lack of financial literacy. We have to go and study some of this stuff and be willing to step outside the boundaries that we place on ourselves to educate ourselves.
Yeah, and I think the main thing here is what I need to boil down. What I wanted to boil this whole topic down was we need education, and I'm not talking about going to university. I'm talking learning financial literacy, learning this thing we call real estate. Because I could tell you something, not making any more of it, and if you don't get your piece of the pie, then you can't make any shots. You can't call any shots. You don't get a seat at the table.
Correct.
I mean, your famous line is, "You think education is expensive? Try ignorance."
Correct. Because you don't know what you don't know, and you can't do what you can't do. And oftentimes, like I said, it's just a matter, like, and you said it best, you don't have to, it's not like you got to go to a university to learn all of this stuff, but, we need to bury our heads down.
Here's the thing. So I hate to cut you off. So this guy is saying education, then what? You see, because hold on, Mr. Robinson. I hate to interrupt you, but education, and then you become Mr. Robinson. That's what's next, because his education has got him to where he just told you in one side of town he owned 40, 50 properties. See, I get frustrated because I love y'all and I be trying to change your mindset on how you got to move forward. Like, this is very simple, but you have to go. You have to figure this out. It's crazy. I guess people don't get it. I guess I showed them examples of walking and living testaments of what you can be. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. You came from an era where doing all of this was hard. You were born prior to us even having Equal Housing Act.
Correct. And if I can do this in my coming through the age that I come through, you guys got it. I mean, if I wanted to do something, the stuff that you guys are doing now, deal machine and all this other stuff, and all the stuff on the internet, if I wanted to go find anything out about a property, I had to drag it on down to the courthouse and go sit in the records and hope I could figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if I had these tools and knew how to use them back then, I mean, I couldn't even fathom how much further along down the road I would be.
So,
although I'm not hurt now.
My question to you is, what made you so special to where you could put yourself in this position where you are now? What made you so special? Did God choose you and just say, you gonna be the example?
No, now you know what? I'm gonna go there too. I believe that God that gave me a gift with this.
Yes.
But I also believe that a desire to want to be more than what I saw other people be, and knowing that there was something bigger on the horizon for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to do. We have to believe that there's more for us. Some of us is just content just being where we are and figure like that's just the way it is. No, it's not just the way it is.
And it don't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. That's why when I think even at the We Live event, I said that one of the things I said is that out of all the attendees, statistics say that 90% of the attendees would leave there and do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You're giving away all this free information on the internet and all the stuff that you do. And hey, you're in a business where somebody will sell you their house and possibly pay you. How many illustrations have I shown you where someone sold me a house or sold one of my clients a house, and the one illustration that rings out is that where someone got paid $30,000 to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes from education and knowing how to deal with those type of opportunities and situations. And so, like I said, a lot of time I think it's belief factor. You have to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Believe that there's a bigger something for you.
Look outside the box you live in.
Hours for dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Working for somebody else.
100%.
Because I'm not special. I'm not special. You're not special.
Sure
everybody that's on this call, everybody that's listening can do any and everything that we're talking about.
Yep.
Application.
Yep. So, Mr. Robinson, I know it's late, and I appreciate you answering and picking up the phone this late and dropping knowledge. But you guys don't know what you're experiencing now until you're gonna realize later that you have these opportunities to listen to. These are phone calls that me and Mr. Robinson have in a random day. So it's cool that you guys get to hear this and speak to somebody. This is where I want to be when I'm his age. So if that says anything to you guys, you need to pay attention and soak up everything he says. I'm gonna leave this up so you can go back and listen to it. So education, I appreciate it, Mr. Robinson. Yes, sir.
Max, like I said, one more thing. Just like I said, tell people, people need to just believe in themselves and dream. Mm-hmm. Because when I started this business, if anybody would have ever told me that I would be where I'm at now in this business, that I would be a multi-millionaire relative to the amount of properties and stuff that we have. No way.
Yeah.
No way. But like I said, you have to want it. You have to go get it. It's there for you. It's there for you. It's not, nobody can keep you from doing anything you want to do.
Not now these days. Not at all.
No. If you want it bad enough, it's there for you. You go get it.
Yes, sir. And we're both living testaments of that.
All right.
I thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good night.
You too, sir.
All right. Thanks.
So, I mean, I felt the impromptu to have this, and I think it's important. I think you guys now get to see the people I surround myself, and I realize everything is available. You know, so listen, everybody's not gonna understand what is happening tonight. Everybody is not gonna embrace what we're saying. All I'm telling you is there is a solution to this, and it's in the knowledge. And once you learn that and realize that you can be a part of this game, and y'all don't bring up Nipsey and talk about Nipsey, because if y'all don't understand what Nipsey was doing really, other than you really started paying attention to him when he passed away, you don't understand anything, because you need to go back and really educate yourself on what Nipsey actually owned and purchased and why he was doing things. But, you know, you probably can't, because everything he has is in a trust. So, Gregory, I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, Danny Carter, we ain't got to agree. We don't have to agree, but I appreciate everybody being on here. The thing is, whether we agree or not, this conversation needs to happen. And I hope everybody understands it. But I can tell you, for the gentrification that's happening in the neighborhoods that people want to call the hood, I'm going to be a part of it. I'm actually looking right now of doing something so absurd that I know it's going to make national news. I'm going to put a $300,000 house in the middle of the hood, and I'm going to wait for everybody else to do it, because I can see where it's coming. So y'all look out for that. Y'all educate yourself, man, and keep this open discussion. Have these discussions at the dinner table. Have these discussions with your friends. It's true. It's out here, man. It's out here for the taking. And listen, do not try to turn this. Look, here's one thing. I'm not ignorant. You know, I understand that only in 1968 the Fair Housing Act was implemented. So that means people of certain religions, people of certain color, all of these things couldn't buy houses. That was less than 60 years ago. Okay. So I understand that we're behind, but now we know what the problem is. Let's fix that. And all that has to do is we educate and we learn how to buy property. And I don't care what color you are, because if you ain't got no money, they not letting you in either. So be a part of the solution by getting rich, educating yourself, and going out and being part of the fabric of America of home ownership. You know, that is one of the very, very detailed, intricate parts of being American is home ownership. So be a part of it, own more, go back and be courageous and buy back the hood if that's what you want to do. But let's not complain about it. Let's be a part of the solution. So I appreciate you guys. Chris, St. Louis, man, I'm proud of you, brother. I see that every time I see you. I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing in St. Louis. And listen, man, Charlotte, I appreciate you. Everybody out there, it's all about home ownership. It's all about ownership, and not only home ownership, but owning where we've played a part in this, everything. Let's just go out there and do it. I appreciate y'all. And look, I can't wait to show off this new set and all these cameras we got. I got the same cameras the Breakfast Club got and all that stuff. So I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all. Y'all keep doing this thing. And listen, y'all stay up. Be good. Peace.